Hello, crafters! Welcome back. It's another Thursday, and we are running with scissors. We're going to have some fun with paper and ink and glitter and heat embossing and all sorts of really great things today. And I'm so glad to have you guys aboard. It is the middle of the month, and as you know, once we get to the middle of the month, we're kind of rolling with what our projects are going to be, and things don't really change too much. But if you are new here, I would love for you to pop into the chat and leave us a little hello and tell us where you're from. We're glad to have you here. We're from all across the world, and we're going to have some fun today with some crafting. So glad to see some people popping into the chat. Hello, everyone. Weather is on its way up here. We had a really foggy morning, but it is starting to get a little sunny, and we should have maybe a nice afternoon. We're supposed to get some weather though later, so we shall see. As you can tell, I am feeling a lot better. Last week I was starting to come down with a cold. I spent the whole weekend basically sleeping, and now here I am on the other side of it feeling really great. So let's go on with the show, shall we? Okay, so not much has changed here. If you have not joined in on the challenge, you could still join us if you want. We are in week 3. We're starting week 3 with today's project. Everyone got their techniques earlier this week, and they've been sharing some really great results. And we are going to work on our project today and work into next week. So you're still welcome to join us. There's still lots of activity going on, lots of things you can participate in. You will have access to the challenge contents for 6 months. So if you want to join in afterwards and check out all of the cool stuff that we did, you're more than welcome to join us. So head over to join.bloomcrafters.com/challenge and check it out. You will want to stay tuned though for next week for sure. I'll be talking about another opportunity that you have to join the Bloom crafting community, which is going to be opening again soon. All right, so let's see what else. So last week I told you that I was starting to plan out a little further. So I've got our topics picked out for May, June, and July. We're going to be doing hot foil, wax mediums, and gel press. So check out those 3 months. Definitely want to pop in and grab all sorts of great information and inspiration about those 3 topics. As always, when we focus on those, I'm going to be talking about all sorts of different brands and different styles and different things that you can do from with those different products and tools and techniques and all those good things. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next couple of months. Don't forget to stay tuned. So go ahead and click on the subscribe button so that way you don't miss out on anything. If you click the little bell, you'll get notified when I go live here and when I have new content on my channel. All right, I do have a technique freebie. So if you're interested in what the techniques are all about and a little bit more about the technique membership, you're going to want to check out that freebie. It's also going to get you on my mailing list, so that way you find out about all the cool stuff that is going on in my crafty world. So NicoleWattCreates.com/technique freebie, that will get you that free PDF file with all sorts of techniques and technique sheets to start your very own technique binder. It's pretty cool. Lots of people are loving it. I've got lots of great feedback from the technique library so far, so I would love to have you join that membership. And you can start with the freebie. Crafty sales. There are new crafty sales this week. There are some spring sales going on. I do need to do some updates, but there are some already out there, so be sure to check my crafty sales page. We've got all sorts of sales. I'm always keeping it up to date. So bookmark it and check it before you go shopping, so that way you know all the sales going on in your area. And you know what? I am really loving seeing all of the projects that this challenge has been sharing. And we're doing a lot of sharing in our private community area, but some folks are sharing out on Instagram. And when you do share out on Instagram, whether it's something that you've been inspired by, or you've recreated, you've cased the project, or you've used a technique from one of my technique videos, tag me on Instagram at NicoleWattCreates. I would love to see what you're creating. I'll share your projects with my audience, and I'll leave you a little comment, and we can just share all the crafty goodness that's going around. All right, so tag me, NicoleWattCreates. And that's about it. We've got our affiliate links down below for shopping. Of course, when you use those, that's at no additional cost to you. That helps out all the crafty people out here on YouTube and on social media that are bringing you all this great free content. Use our affiliate links. It doesn't cost you a thing. It's an easy way to say thank you for everything that we do for you. And of course, if you want to support me directly, you can put a tip in the tip jar. And thank you to Erin for sending me a little cup of joe last week. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, I've got new subscribers. So hello and welcome to all of my new subscribers. I hope some of you are out there today. I see we do have some new followers. So welcome, Cheryl. I'm so glad that you're here from North Carolina. We're glad to have you. Let's see. So those are some of our new subscribers. Welcome, and I hope you enjoyed the channel. So we've got some cards to share from our challenge this month. Awesome projects. So last week we did a technique called pollock splattering, and people were really inspired by the project. And I love all the inspiration that I've been seeing. So these are some of the ones that were shared out on Instagram. So this one is by Vicky, and she just did such a wonderful job with it. It is, it looks like it might be golds and browns and maybe some silvers in there, but it's beautiful. It looks like mud splatters all over those shoes and on the ground. It is just really awesome. I absolutely love this card, and I'm so glad that she shared it with us because it is perfection. And then Rachel took the idea and added it to her Easter card, which I think is absolutely adorable. And what I love about this is that she was not afraid of color. So she used oranges and blues together. As long as you dry in between, you'll still get the colors. They're not going to blend together like you might think they would and turn into a muddy mess. She dried in between and they look absolutely stunning. I really love this card. And it's a great way to use this technique in a different way than what we did for the project. But she also did the project as well. So here are her chucks all done up in burgundy with some splatter on that. I'm going to show you this other one here where you can really see the gold splatter around this little grommet here. It is really fantastic. And she did just a fabulous job with her stamping all the way around. Excellent work. So thank you for sharing, Rachel. Jess also shared, and she did a spectacular job. She's got some aqua blue chucks similar to the ones that we created live here, and then she's got some of her splatter on those as well. Looks really great. She did a great job on her stamping. Spectacular, beautiful case. And then Rose went a totally different direction. She loved the splatter so much, and it reminded her of an underwater scene. So she went for an aquatic theme here, and she did an absolutely gorgeous job. She's got the background here, but then she got a 2-for-1 because this is cut out from another piece. And then she created this card with it as well. So as you can see, the pollock splatter that we did last week can be used for so many different things. And you don't just have to do the project that we did. You can do something as creative as these here. So thank you guys for sharing. I really appreciate it. And like I said, don't forget to tag me at Nicole Watt Creates. It's right there on the top of the screen. You can find me on all social media at Nicole Watt Creates, but Instagram is the one where I'm really tracking people. So thank you. All right. So we've been having challenges inside the, let's get back to a base. We've been having some challenges inside of the challenge. So, and not like bad challenges, but good challenges where people are posting their projects into the link ups each week. And from that, I am picking a weekly winner. And this week's winner is Paula M. And Paula is already a Bloom community member. So she doesn't need the Technique Library subscription because she already has it. So Paula, I'm going to reach out to you separately and we're going to come up with a really great prize for you that I think you will enjoy because we're going to make it custom just for you because you already have access to the Technique Library. So congratulations to Paula. Thank you for playing along with the challenge and posting your project in the link up. So we've got a new link up ready to go for our challengers. It is on the challenge dashboard. So when we start working on today's project, you'll be ready to go to start posting your projects there. All right. So, and Paula is on. I'm so excited because she's out in the UK and sometimes she doesn't join us, but here she is tonight. So yay, I'm glad you joined. All right, guys. So let's take a look at today's project. So we're going to do some more fussy cutting. I already have a lot of this fussy cut out. So if you remember last week, I said, save your pieces. So these are the leftover pieces from last week's project. And I already have them fussy cut out. So these are ready to go. And then we just need to create the rest of it. So that's a really great way if you're going to be mixing and matching for some fussy cut projects, reuse the rest of the pieces and create a second card, right? So we're going to do some heat embossing on glitter. I love this glitter paper. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this later. And then we're going to do some backgrounding here with a watercolor smush technique. And, you know, this actually came from my scraps bin, as did the sentiment, which is from Altenew. But it doesn't have to. I mean, if you need to create from scratch, great. If not, if you've got something in your scraps bin, that's even better because then you're using up scraps from your scraps bin, which is awesome. So we're going to mix up the colors today. We're going to do some enamel dots instead of the sequins so we can make it even more masculine. And we're going to do a really cool project with this. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Just a little. There we go. Okay. So let's get crafting, shall we? Okay. So the first thing we're going to do today is some ink smushing. So these are like previews here. So of course we're using our Picket Fence stamp today. We've got our rainbow glitter or our mixed metals glitter paper. We'll talk about those in a little bit. I've got my stamp set and dies from Altenew. This is the only week that we're actually using a sentiment from outside of the stamp set. Of course, you don't have to do that. But of course, why not? If you've got the stuff, let's have a little bit of fun, right? Okay. So this is the stencil that I used in the background here. And like I said, this was a scrap. It came from another video, another project I was doing. And I just pulled it out of my bin and said, oh, that would be kind of nice because it gives you a little bit of something in the background instead of something just plain. So I encourage you to do like, you could do an ink blending background. You could do a pattern background like this with the stencil, really anything you want. Just sometimes a plain background is a little boring. So, and I don't like boring. So that's probably why I don't do a lot of clean and simple because I think it looks boring. I love it when other people do it, but when I do it, I'm like, well, that's plain. And I have to do something to it. So anyway, okay, so I have this little mat on my work area here. So we can work with some watercolor card. And this is just Canson 140-pound watercolor cardstock cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So any watercolor paper that you have. And I have my stencil. And let's see, is this one sticky? Yeah, this one I must have used with some glue spray, but you don't need it doesn't need to be sticky for this particular technique, okay? It just happens to be sticky because that's what I used with it last, but it doesn't need to be sticky. All right, so just disregard the stick because we're not going to use that side. We're going to use the non-sticky side. All right, and I've got my stencil here, and then I've got just this little mat. This is just like a baking mat. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in our Q&A with the Bloom challenge group today. But this is just like a kitchen mat that you would use, like a Teflon mat for cooking on. And that's all this is. But it works good for absorbent things and for heat things and that kind of stuff. So I just have that out. I need a paper towel. Almost forgot some paper towels. Okay, so we can do this technique one of two ways. In the technique video for this, I talk about watercolor. So I recommend for this technique to use a liquid watercolor. So either a brush marker or liquid watercolors and a brush. And you would just, you know, add some on here. Black is really intense, so be careful how much you're adding on here. We don't need a whole lot. Or you can spray it with a spray stain. All right, this will work just as well. So you could spray it with a spray stain. You might actually get a little bit more control if you use a spray stain versus the brush marker if you end up getting a big blob like that. And actually, I'm thinking that might be too much, but we'll find out in a minute here. So I'm just going to kind of spread that out a little bit, because I kind of felt like that was too much. All right, so I'm going to move this out of the way. So this piece underneath, this could be a paper towel or whatever. It doesn't have to be anything special. I'm going to take my cardstock here. So this is my watercolor card. Move a few things out of the way here. And this is just a water mister. All right, I'm going to spray this down. Now, when you spray this down, this is when you're going to get a lot of movement or a little movement. So see, I added some water, but not a whole lot. So things are not moving on my stencil too much. That can be a good thing because that means you're going to get a more controlled and defined image. So let's smush this down and see what this looks like. So I'm just going to flip it over, right? Water, surface tension is going to keep that water stuck to the stencil because we don't have so much on here that it's just going to pour off, right? And I'm just going to put it down on my card. All right, and then I'm going to take my paper toweling and just put it over the top and smush that in place. And it's actually going to stick to my paper towel because it's got the glue on the back of it. But normally it won't. If you don't have adhesive on it, it's not going to stick. All right, and that's what we're going to get. See, look, I've got more on here, so we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so you see how that's nice and defined. You can see a lot of the lines in there. It's pretty cool looking. If it looks too dramatic for you, if that's like way too much, then take what you have on here. Don't add any more. All right, and I'm going to grab, just wipe that up real quick. And see, I pulled up a couple of pieces because I figured maybe we would do more than one. All right, so then I'll put another one down. And so this one I'm going to spray with more water. All right, and so we can get those droplets to kind of move a little bit more. All right, so this one will end up being a little bit lighter because A, there's less ink on here, right? Because we already put some ink on this piece here. And then B, we've got more water. So that's going to help dilute it more. And then it's going to make it more watercolory looking. It may have more fuzzy edges. All right, so we're going to pop that one down again. All right. And then again, I'm going to take my paper here, let that soak in, lift it up. All right, so see, look at this one is totally different because all of that ink was more saturated with water. There was less ink to begin with. So this is much more of a toned down gray. So same thing, same look, same stencil, different look, just by the amount of ink that you're using and the amount of water that you're using. All right. So in the end, you can decide if you want more of a subtle look or more of a bold look by using less or more ink, less or more water, all that kind of stuff. So every time you do this, it's going to be different. So technically it's a mono print. And once these are dry, we'll have a choice about which one we want to use. So this stencil is really great. It's this beautiful marbled stencil from Altenew. Sue says she doesn't have it, but I bet you it's on her list now. And just clean it up. There. So that was the liquid marble stencil from Altenew. There we go. So you don't always have to remove the adhesive on the back of your stencils if you already have adhesive on them. Just know that if you do, it might be a little fun to work with if it starts sticking to things. I do have a great technique video on how to remove that adhesive really easily. Or like I said, you can leave it on and just kind of mess around with it. And that's it. So now we've got these two guys to pick from. All right. Okay, so these we're going to set aside to dry. You know, and another thing, pick your color. You could do multicolor. You could do just one color. You could do one color and then spray another color in between. There's all sorts of things that you can do with this. So you don't have to go with just black. I'm going with black because I'm going to do a monochrome look today. But like I said, you can pick whatever you want. And of course you can pick whatever stencil you want. That's going to change the mood of your project. So if you don't want to do like this kind of free flowy marble, you could do something that has more of a pattern to it, or something that's even more loose. Or you could just do something completely different altogether, right? Backgrounds, they're tons of fun. Okay, let's talk about glitter paper. So this week, the challenge participants learned how to heat emboss on glitter paper. And let me move a few things here. Okay. So heat embossing on glitter paper, it might be gilding the lily a little bit, right? Because glitter paper is already amazing. But if you want, you can heat emboss on it. And it looks awesome. Everyone has been having a ton of fun exploring the technique. You can use regular glitter paper that maybe sheds a little bit, that has a little bit more of a thickness to it and texture to it, or you can use this thinner paper. This is a newer product by scrapbook.com. They have these in larger pads, like slimline pads. I don't know if they have these yet in the 5x7 pads. I kind of hope they do eventually, because these are just 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So they only work for that particular A2 card size, right? So if you're doing an A2 card, that's as big as you're going to get on that, right? But you might want to cut it down and all that kind of stuff. So it comes with an assortment of rainbow colors, right? So you've got purple and blue, aqua, gold, green, all sorts of great colors in here. So this gold comes from here, and the pink and the aqua. All right, so these are really awesome. And then there is mixed metals as well. So you've got black, silver, and then all sorts of different shades of gold and copper that you can work from. So even with this, the black shades and then kind of this charcoal shade, you could black heat emboss on these and still see it. It would be really great. But let's talk about the difference. So this is shed free, and it is very, very, very thin. All right. And you know how sometimes when you get glitter paper, it's not actually like glittery, it's just shimmery. This is like truly glitter. I mean, it's really glitter. If you tried really hard, you could scrape it off of there. But it is stuck on here so good, and it's nice and flat. It's like a micro glitter. It's really great. It's easy to use. See, look, it tears very easily. Versus a chunky glitter paper. Let me grab a piece of that. Oh, I should put a piece of it. I'll just grab a piece. All right. So chunky glitter paper usually comes like 12 by 12 paper. It's much thicker, and it tears. Sometimes it has a little plastic backing to it, but the glitter itself is much more textural. Like there's a lot more texture going on. You can feel it, and but you still get the same awesome crazy glitter effect, right? And we all love glitter, right? I mean, who doesn't love glitter? But I hate glitter all over the place. So yay for glitter paper. But what do you do with it? Glitter paper is great. You want to like put a little die cut of something, or you want to cut out words or whatever. But when it comes to like getting a pattern on it or something like that, people are like, well, I can't stamp on it because the ink is just going to wipe right off, right? Which usually is true. It doesn't really matter what kind of ink you use, unless you're using StazOn that's going to dry on there really fast as that solvent ink. But if you try to use any other kind of ink, a lot of times it's just going to wipe right off, right? So we're going to heat emboss it. And I'm going to pick, so I thought I would do like a really cool monochrome. So I'm going to do red. And then I'll have the blacks and grays. So it's kind of a monochrome / Ohio State thing I've got going on today, which is just fine by me. So let's talk about some tips for heat embossing this. So when you're heat embossing the heavier cardstock, you don't need to stick it down or tape it down, because it's not going to warp as easily because it's thick. All right, but this stuff is so thin, and there is a little bit of plastic in it. Not only the glitter, but there is like a little bit of a plastic or something on the paper itself that when you hit the heat with it, it's just going to go whoop and curl up really bad. Okay, so we're going to have to tape this down. And I also suggest that you use a whole lot of anti-static powder, because we don't want our embossing powder to get down into the crevices. We want them to be nice, crisp lines. All right. So here's a disadvantage. So this paper, like I said, is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And we've got our shoes, which are basically going to take up the whole thing. So that doesn't really leave me a whole lot of space to tape down later. But I know that I'm going to be fussy cutting, and I know what my project looks like, right? So I know that the toes of my shoes are going to be covered by the gray. So I'm actually going to move my stamp up so that I have a place down here to tape, and then I can tape across the top as well, because I know that those are going to be covered up and I don't have to worry about it. So this is how I'm going to stamp my stamp. All right, so that way I can put tape across the bottom and I can put tape across the top and not have any problems. So this is taking a little bit of planning because my no shed paper is only 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now I could also use 2 pieces and then just do like one shoe on one and one shoe on the other. You know, there's a lot of different ways I can work around this problem, but this is the easiest way to work around this problem. Okay. So anti-static powder. This is just my baby powder in a container with my basting brush. See how much I'm putting on here? A whole lot. And we can, there we go. All right. So I feel like you can put a whole lot on there. Yeah, so Paula, of course, you can use glitter card instead. Totally, but I really love the way that the glitter, this no shed paper works, because the embossing is going to sit on top. When you use glitter card that has more of a chunky glitter or more of a texture to it, the embossing actually kind of sinks into the paper and looks more like it's just been stamped versus stamped and embossed. Either way, it works though. Okay, so I am also using VersaFine Clair. You can use regular embossing ink. I'm just using VersaFine Clair so that it's very easy to see that I have stamped successfully everywhere. All right. So see there, I've got a really good impression. I know that I've stamped really well. Beautiful. Okay. So what I'm going to do today, there's a lot of different ways I can glue, not glue, but secure this. And I thought, well, you know, I could just tape it down to here. That would work. But I can also, you know, tape it down to any other surface. So really any surface you have, you could even just tape it down to another piece of paper. That would work just fine. I just happen to have this Make Art Station right here. So I thought I'll just pick this up and use it. All right, so I'm going to tape this down. Oops, I got to put some powder on it first, don't I? It's the only container that doesn't have a spoon in it. All right. See how that really likes to stick? So you really have to make sure that you are putting lots of anti-static powder on here, because see, it really likes to stick. So I'm going to flip it over even and just flick it like so. on the back to get all that excess off. All right, so there we go. Now it can go down on our sheet. And I'm going to just tape this right down. Like so. And then all I really need to do is just the corners here. All right. There we go. Let's heat it up. I'm going to zoom you guys in so you can really see. All right. So there we go. Did you see how it buckled up and kind of moved around like that? Yeah, if we hadn't had this taped down, that would have been a real royal mess. See how that wants to curl? Now that it's heated up, it's okay. All right. So yeah, this might be what happens to your paper when you do this. So we're going to fix this problem here. And as you can see, it is all nice and heat embossed. Look at that. Beautiful on there. All right, and then any of the anti-static powder is just going to come off as we're working with it, or we can wipe it off later, either way. All right, but now that that's on there really well, what I want to do is get this to start laying flat again, right? So I'm going to use a piece of double-sided adhesive sheet. And we're going to get this all laying flat a little better. All right. So with my adhesive sheet, usually I cut it smaller than the piece that I'm working with. And usually the piece I'm working with is not this crazy. I'm just going to line it up though. And then I'm going to pull it across. In this instance, it doesn't really matter so much because we're going to fussy cut this out. All right, but now that I've got this in place, you see how that really settled it down a whole lot? Now I've got a nice flat piece that I can work with. All right, we're going to, like I said, we're going to cut this out. So we're going to have, don't have to worry about any of this extra stuff that came off on the sides. All right, so let's do that. We're going to fussy cut. In this case, we're cutting out the entire shoe. So we'll just go like up to here. We can leave that little bit there. That's fine. I made that look easy. It was a little kludgy because it was also curled up for sure. Just take your time with it. And like I said, in this case, I wasn't too concerned about getting it lined up perfectly because I knew that I was going to be cutting this out. So it didn't have to be perfection. All right, and when we come down to here where the shoe ends, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of follow the line and cut it off. All right, and this I just followed the line to here, although we're going to trim that so it's perfect here in a second. And then the same thing with this shoe. Just cutting on the outside of the embossed line. You'd be amazed once you do this at how easy it is to manage once you have the double-sided adhesive sheet on the back. It just becomes a regular piece of cardstock that's very easy to cut, very easy to manage. It doesn't want to curl anymore. Just adding that little bit of extra material really helps tame it down real quick. All right. So instead of trying to struggle with these, I'm going to take these over to the paper cutter and just cut off this little extra edge here. So that way it comes right up to the embossed bit there. And that was the end of the stamp. So I'm going to just trim those off real quick. There, and now I don't have anything to worry about. So Rose wants to know if this would work if you put the sticky sheet on before. You can try it. However, a lot of times what happens is it will roll and buckle even more, or it will separate and then become like a big sticky mess. So you can try it. If you have a heat setting on your embossing tool that's like a low heat, you might be able to get away with that. It's definitely worth trying. Sometimes things work better for some people than others. I don't always have luck with that. All right, so I'm just actually wiping these off on my pants to get the extra anti-static powder off of them. All right, so those are ready to go. And we can add our extra pieces to them now. So we'll be able to complete our shoes. All right. I feel like I'm like near far today. There, that's a little better. So this is just like last week with our paper piecing. We've got the extra pieces that were left over from last week. You saved them for this week's project. Or maybe you use them on another project, but you can always make more. And again, we're just going to line those right up. All right. Super easy. And so now you know, I mean, you didn't have to worry about the tops of these because of course they're going to be covered by our paper pieced tops. They work out so easily this way. So there you go. No one will ever know that you're missing some of the glitter underneath. All right, so these need just a little bit of extra time to dry because they are sticking on glitter paper, and you know, you don't have 100% contact right away, so it's a good idea to get these glued on and set aside for just a few minutes while we work on the rest of the project, and then they'll be ready to go when we need them. Just like we did the background piece first, so that could dry. Same deal here. We want these guys to be able to rest and let these pieces dry in place, so we're not trying to rush things and get them all smushed down, and you know, it's just best if you can do it that way. Right, so there you go. Isn't that amazing? It looks awesome. I would love a pair of shoes like this. I think they would be fantastic. And of course, you don't have to be boring like me with the white shoelaces and things like that. You can do different colors. You could use different glitter paper if you wanted to make like a completely glittered shoe. Go crazy for it. That would be pretty cool too. All right, so there are our shoes. They're looking pretty snappy. If you feel like they're kind of popping up a little bit, I like to grab a big, I love this thing. This is the latest acrylic block from scrapbook.com. It's huge. It's designed for slimline cards. I don't think I will ever use it for stamping, but what I will use it for is this. To hold down elements while I'm waiting for them to dry in place. So see, I can just put that right on top. It's going to hold them nice and flat. It fits lots of stuff under there, a big space. I can just push it out of the way and let those guys dry flat while we are working on something else. It's so convenient. I use my acrylic blocks for that all the time. All right, so we need to do just a little bit more stamping and die cutting for our sentiment. So like I said, this week we're not using the Picket Fence sentiments that come with the stamps. And we're using this great stamp set called Hello and Hugs from Altenew. It's been in their lineup since, I guess, since 2020. And I love this set. So you've got the stamps, the hello and the hugs, and then of course all the sentiments that go with them. And then you have the coordinating dies. So you don't even have to use these stamps. A lot of times I don't use these stamps at all. I just die cut with the two dies. So the hello and the hugs each has a shadow layer and then the main layer. So we're going to use the hugs this time. I did hello on the other one because that's what I had for scraps. See, that's how they work. All right. So we're going to use the hugs this time. And there we go. And we're going to do just a little bit more heat embossing. We're going to do just the sentiment strip on an embossed layer. Let me grab my... Need to clean this off. This is another great thing about using VersaFine Clair is that it cleans up so easily. Even though it's oil-based, it's not solvent-based, so it cleans up super easy. I just use my microfiber towel with some water and just clean it up. There we go. All right, so my Misty has a modified matte in it that Rachel is asking about. Let me talk about that for a second. So I got rid of the foam piece that comes in the Misty because I didn't want to have to put a piece of paper in there all the time to stamp on and all that kind of stuff. So I have, this is just a silicone mat. It is cut from a larger silicone kitchen mat. Then I put a piece of fun foam, just a craft foam from the big box stores to make up for the layer. So if I put these two together, this is about the thickness of the piece of foam that comes with this. And they just fit right in there. So it's easy to clean. And I don't have to worry about putting a little piece of paper in there or anything like that. That's it. Super easy. I can't tell you how many of these I've cut up and used like that. Because it's very convenient and it just works really well. Okay, So we're going to do hugs, and we could still do, we could do sending lots of love and hugs, or hugs, you are the sweetest. Hugs, you make me smile. Let's just do hugs, thinking of you, my friend. That makes it very non-gender oriented. It could be for anything. Let's see if this piece of this little teeny tiny strip that I have picked out here. Let's see if it's too skinny. It might be. I just pulled this from my scraps bin, so it's really hard to say whether it's the right size or not. We'll find out in a second here. That might fit. We'll see. Okay, we're going to do white heat embossing on this. Just a little bit of anti-static powder. Since I have it out, I'll just use my Fine Clair. It doesn't matter what color you do this in. Yeah. Let's flip that over. That didn't work out so well. We'll try it again. That didn't work out so well either. This piece is just too small. Let's get another piece. All right, sometimes when I grab things from my scraps bin, I don't really know what thickness they are, and they just don't work out sometimes. So it's okay. It's just a teeny tiny scrap of cardstock. So now I can line it up the way I really wanted to begin with. See, I should have known better. If it wasn't going to fit down here, it wasn't going to fit at all. Sentiment strips are hard. I don't care what anyone says. You can do them all the time and not have a problem with them, and then all of a sudden you're live on a live stream and it's like the hardest thing you've ever done. It just happens that way. And that's okay. The great thing about them is you can try them over and over and over again until you get them right. Just like that one. See, I knew I'd get it. And we're just going to pop it in some white. And that's going to look awesome. I love a nice white on black sentiment. All right, and there it is. See? Redemption. Okay, now we have all of our pieces to make a card. Let's grab our backgrounds and our shoes. And there's some, oh, we don't have all of our pieces. We need to do our hugs. These are quick. I've got a piece of vellum and a piece of gray. Because remember I said I was going with monochrome. And that makes this easy. So we're going to do hugs and hugs. This needs just a little bit of tape. Thanks for the love, Kathy. I appreciate it. Come on. Doesn't want to go through today. There we go. So see, I mean, they're just so cute. It's like just the right size for a card, both vertical, horizontal, it doesn't matter. It works really well either direction. And for this, we don't have to do anything special. You could do double-sided adhesive if you want to make it super easy. You would have put that on first and then run it through your die cut machine. But these guys are like just big enough you can get a nice layer of liquid adhesive on them easily. And just get that put right on there. See. So you don't even really need to use the background layer, the shadow layer, if you don't want. What I find though is when I do this like with a piece of vellum here, is that it helps it pop up from whatever it's got behind in the background. So adding that little bit of a vellum background is really helpful. You can still see what's going on behind it, but you're not like totally losing the sentiment along the way. All right, and do I not have a card base today? I have all sorts of things going on here. And no card base. But I have one right here. Okay, so now is the decision time, right? We need to decide which background we want to use, the more pronounced background or the faded background. And so what I would do is put my shoes on it, kind of the way they're going to show up, and decide, you know, which I like better. So do I like this look, or do I like this look? And it's going to have the hugs on there. So it's kind of up to you which you prefer. And of course you can even flip it over, like say, oh, I don't like this big splotch in the bottom, but I do like that, you know, you can do that. Right? So it's really, really all up to you. And I think I'm going to go, everyone likes the darker one. I kind of like the lighter one. So here's look number 2. So, you know, it's up to you. We'll go with the darker one since that's what the crowd wants. And I kind of like the splotch then. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do the big splotch, I think. 1, 2. It's like being at the eye doctor. Let's do 2 because that way you see more of the swoosh and everything. All right. All right, so this fits on here like perfect. Get it all nice and lined up. And now is the time, before you start putting your other elements on here, because we have them cut up on the sides perfectly. If you need to trim any edges, you want to do that now. So I do have just a little trim that I need to do on this piece here. So I'm going to take care of that. So no extra edges or anything like that. Beautiful. It's ready to go. So this guy is going to go as far up as we can put him. So he's going to go like that. And here's the great thing. It's got adhesive on the back. So just going to pull off our adhesive backing. I do need to put just a little on the toe because remember that came from our gray paper piecing and that doesn't have any adhesive on it. We don't want the toes pulling up. Okay, so we're just gonna put this guy right on the edge. All the way. There we go. Smooth it down. Beautiful. So Jan wants to know the cityscape on my wall. I don't think it's any cityscape in particular. It's from Altenew. So it's just one of their decals. If it's any city, I'm assuming it's New York, but I don't think it is. All right, so just snip off the back there. We've got one shoe. All right, and then the same thing with our second shoe. Now the second one, let's plan a little bit. So we're gonna bring him down so we can kind of cover up this little area where they both meet and to give it a little bit more motion. We don't want them to be like perfectly matched up because then that just kind of cuts off our design, right? We want to give it a little bit of motion and interest. So I'm gonna pull it down a little bit. We're gonna cut off all of this, okay? So again, we've got our double-sided adhesive. Makes it so easy. And then just a little bit on the toe here. And I'm just lining it up on the side here because I know that's exactly where I want that edge. And the rest will take care of itself. There we go. And these are just sticking right on top of each other. I'm not doing any kind of popping up or anything like that. All right, so there we go. I love this card. This is great. All right, so again, we just clean up our edge here. Beautiful. Then we've got our hugs, which again, I'm not going to do any popping up here. I'm just going to stick it straight on here. We just need to put adhesive in the space where the gray is over on the top. So we're trying just to stay away from the edges really, so that we don't have any adhesive showing through. I'm just going to pop this guy on here. And I'm just kind of eyeballing the straightness of it. I can trust my eye at this point, knowing that I have all of these square edges to work from. To just make sure that that's on there nice and straight. That looks fabulous. And then this guy is going to go, you know, kind of right across like so. And it's okay to cover up the letters. It is, I promise. Let's clean this off a little. All right, so again, I just wiped that on my pants so that it got rid of that extra anti-static powder. And yeah, Nancy says that it looks like fabric, and it really does. I don't know why, but it takes on this gorgeous, gorgeous look. All right, so kind of square that up a little bit. And then you see I left this nice long tail because I wasn't sure how far over I wanted to go with it. And I can just flip it over and trim that right off. Okay, so we talked about this original one has sequins on it, right? So let's make this a little bit even more masculine and add some enamel dots. I do the same thing with my enamel dots when I can that I do with my sequins when I can. I do the largest with the smallest and then the medium size off on its own, always in a triangular pattern. Typically I do it in like a tight triangle. These two are really close together and then this one way far out. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to use this kind of, this is almost a coordinating dark color. I love it. But I don't have the smallest. Oh, I do. Open a new package. And open a new package. So there we go. There, and then the medium. And this does not have to go on the gray. It can go off onto the shoe itself. And that looks really awesome too. And there you go. So now you've got a couple of different options. I mean, look, we've got a nice, beautiful monochrome with some enamel dots instead, a little bit more of a masculine look to it. This one's got some more playful colors in it with the sequins, a little bit more feminine version. Either way, they look fabulous. So there we go. Awesome, right? There. So yeah, let's take a closer look at that. Yeah, it looks almost like the sheen of rayon, but it really is, when you see it in person, it's got that glittery effect to it. It's absolutely gorgeous. So there's number one. And here's our original, the gold. There you go. And that's it. We've made another card. We're through another week. You guys have some really great techniques to try out and have a lot of fun with. I can't wait to see what you decide to create with it. So don't forget to tag me at Nicole Creates over on Instagram when you share your projects, whether that is because you heat embossed on some glitter paper or because you use these chucks to create this exact project. Maybe you did some watercolor smushing with your stencils. I'd love to see what you've created, so don't forget to tag me. And I will be sure to check out your beautiful art this week. For those of you that are in the challenge, I will see you guys over in the challenge area in about 30 minutes for our private Zoom. And if you are not a part of the challenge, you can still join in. It is at join.bloomcrafters.com/challenge. You can check that out. Either way, get on my mailing list and you'll be hearing more about the Bloom community, which will be opening up soon. And I know you guys are all going to be excited for that. So until then, don't forget to give today's video a thumbs up if you loved it. And if you would like, please do subscribe to my channel. I really do appreciate it. I will be back here next Thursday for our last Running with Scissors with this stamp set and our last challenge project. We're going to have a ton of fun coloring and you're going to love it. I know you are. And I will see you guys then. Until then, have a great weekend and happy crafting.